Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gorecom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, because he keeps putting out important news, David Lukacs, CEO, Liquid Avatar Technologies, trades in Canada under LQID, and for friends of the S under LQAVF. For those of you new to the story, here's what you need to know, and this is especially true for the young investors out there who are bullish on Web3 and the Metaverse and what's coming and avatars, all of that, because digital ID is going to play such a critical role in that. Liquid Avatar is in leadership position. Why? They are more than just words, a global blockchain and personal ID company that empowers individuals to manage, control, and generate value from our biometrically verified self-sovereign digital identity, but that also provides businesses and governments with the ability to easily integrate digital wallets, digital ID solutions through the Liquid Avatar platform so that the whole ecosystem can just work perfectly. If you don't think that digital ID is going to be something important, well, you missed earlier this year or last year where the Ontario government announced their digital strategy, including a launch of a digital ID credential, digitizing government services, and protecting individual privacy and data rights. So, with that being said, Ontario being one of the first jurisdictions in North America, you might be saying, okay, well, how's Liquid Avatar succeeding on that? They've already announced a partnership with the Ontario Convenience Store Association to provide digital age verification solutions to over 8,000 stores. And that's just really a basic description of that. Today's press release is a major expansion on that. Here it is. Liquid Avatar Tech launches updated digital ID mobile app for age verification, government, industry, and metaverse credentials all together. That's a mouthful. David, welcome back, my friend.
George, when isn't it a mouthful? That's the problem.
But it has to be said. Otherwise, people at home are going to be like, who are these guys and what do they do? And you're not.
Yeah.
I wish you just drill for gold. So I could say, David's got a piece of land. He's drilling for gold. Tune in.
But George, we are drilling for gold, but in the metaverse and in digital identity and in where internet and e-commerce collide. So we are drilling for gold, just in a different platform.
Well, let's talk about this. Typically, for the first time we're reading this headline, an updated app wouldn't really warrant an interview, but this is far from that. It's vastly different. So before discussing the update specifically, I want to elaborate on two things. The macro side of digital ID, where it's at, right? Mm-hmm. And specifically then Liquid Avatar in terms of your leadership position in digital ID, because I want people to get the whole big picture, and then we can go into the update.
So George, I'm going to start with a very simple premise. If I walked into, I'm going to use an electronics store like Best Buy, and I walked in today and I said to someone, listen, I'm really sorry, I want to buy this big TV, but I don't have my wallet on me, but I do have a piece of paper that I've written down my name, my address, my credit card number, my authorization code, and my expiry date, and my phone number. I'm going to give you this piece of paper. You keep it. Let me walk out of the store with the TV. What's the likelihood that you would be able to do that? It's probably
or
zero.
Even run it through their system. They say, no,
zero.
That's not just going to fly.
But we do that every day online. So if you've got to start with the premise that the internet was broken from day one when it comes to identity, right? And banks and financial organizations say, don't worry, we got you covered, but someone has to pay that bill down the road. And that's a $30 billion problem on its own. Combine that with the fact that I never got a driver's license so I could buy a bottle of liquor. So when I walk into a liquor store, not at my age, not anymore, unfortunately, but if young people, yeah. But if a young person walks in, they've got to show their driver's license. Well, new privacy legislation in North America and even globally will not allow that in the future. And why? Because the clerk doesn't need to know where you live as a personally identifiable piece of information to be able to sell you a bottle of liquor. All they need to know is you're of age.
And that's even more critical. I don't mean to age myself, but with women, right? If I have a daughter who's 20 years old, does we really want her showing her ID to someone who now knows where she lives, her full name, and all of it? It becomes even more.
Well, we've seen that in the movies, right? I'm trying to recall the movie in which I saw that, but you're 100% correct. But so everything is changing, and the ability to use blockchain technology to support digital identity is there. And we are one of the leading companies, I believe, in the world, and Gartner recognized us in November as such, that is really involved in digital identity. Now we've done our COVID testing, and we really knew COVID was going to be short-lived, or we believe that, and we still have the ability to embrace health and technologies and all that type of stuff in labs. Still part of our premise. But at the end of the day, the most pain that merchants feel in the real world, never mind online, because we'll talk about it online in real world, is assuring that the individual who's buying a restricted product is of age. Because if you think about convenience stores, there's single sport betting now. There is opportunities to add self-service terminals are coming into play. Big sort of graphic-based terminals that you can buy lottery tickets on. There's lots of different opportunities. Convenience stores would really like to have the ability to sell alcoholic beverages. The beer store in Ontario loses its exclusivity in 2025. There's so many things happening in Ontario issuing digital identity. So we have built a product, and we launched it in 2021, and we spent most of 2022 really focused on listening to the feedback, listening to everything that went on, and updating it to make sure it meets all the upcoming requirements that are needed for not only for a user to hold that credential, but someone to verify that credential, and opportunities for those that want to issue a credential. Because a credential isn't just a government ID. It might be access to a website. So in the near future, and I mean the next sort of
medical record.
Next couple weeks, literally next few weeks, you'll be able to take your digital credentials and start testing them on different things that we have in our platform. So you can you can do age verification, you can do gaming verification, you can sign up to a metaverse, you can do all kinds of different things by not using your identity, but just by looking at a generated QR code and signing in. So what that means long term is, when we take it to the online world, is you can do age verification, you can do restricted, you can do access, you can do no password, no username. So literally, George, I could sign in to Agoracom without using any username and password.
No email and any of that kind of
Nothing.
Stuff. Yep.
Just my biometrics and a credential.
David, how far are we on the macro side? Because you've been way ahead of this, and you blew me away. We don't need to repeat that, but you blew me away a couple of years ago. So you've been way ahead of this. How far away do you think are we from this really becoming a part of our lives on mass adoption over the next year, next couple of years? Because obviously the Ontario government's moving forward. It's not just them; others are moving forward. How long until you think we start the beginnings of mass adoption?
I think we're probably looking at 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
And that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of value opportunities along the way. And it's no longer bleeding edge, it's now leading edge. And we're sitting on the leading edge. So I think all the investments we've made to date are really well founded for the future of where we want to go. And we look at the macro markets today and the financial markets, they're not reflective of everything that's going on in an individual company, in our humble opinion. But if we look at where we're going today and where the market is going, I mean, signing on to a cannabis site, signing on to a betting site, there's lots of different opportunities to make this work. And I think with governments adopting, it's going to skyrocket, but it's going to take 18 to 24 months. But
you've already attracted the interest of the Ontario Convenience Store Association. I mean, that was big, 8,000 stores across Ontario. Has there been any other? I know you can't give insider information, but generally speaking, are you seeing more and more interest coming in from other associations like that?
Yes.
So you're seeing
we're seeing applications, and we're making proposals now to a variety of governments. I won't talk about particular applications, but there is how do you manage refugees? How do you manage
right?
How do you manage?
Yeah, that's got to be a disaster. It's got to people like me can't even get a passport right now, right? And I'm a Canadian citizen, let alone refugees who are coming in. And how do you keep?
Well, yeah.
Are you kind of telling us foreshadowing there?
No. I'm just saying that these are some of the opportunities that do exist. And how do you manage, online education? How do you manage transcripts? How do you manage, making sure that someone who's buying something online meets that criteria? Think about all the new betting sites that have come to Ontario in the last few months.
That's a big one.
How do they make sure that if they're only licensed in Ontario, that only Ontario participants that are using it? We have one jurisdiction that is part of a larger kingdom, a real kingdom, and their online sports betting programs are available to everyone in the world online except the kingdom members. So there's access and restriction, and there's new NFTs being designed for access. But how do you make sure that the person who has the access actually has the identity to own that? There's lots of applications, and we're seeing those. But really, what we're narrow band focused on is where is the intersection of revenue and the pain points with digital identity? Because we could boil the ocean. It's really easy. We've tested all our premises, and now we're working on how do we activate specific opportunities where we can see a path to revenue.
Was that the reason? So that's a great segue into, was that the reason for the update? Because this
Yeah.
wasn't just an update. This wasn't Liquid Avatar 2.0 with some, minor fixes and things like patches and things like that. This is pretty major. So was this update, and then we'll discuss some specifics, but was a big part of this update as a result of feedback from government industry saying, okay, Liquid Avatar is awesome. Could we also have this and this?
Yeah, it was feedback from the ground up. Everything from how we use blockchain technology. I mean, we went through a very comprehensive program with a very large consulting firm that wanted to look at our technology, and I want to say we're comfortably we've passed the review. But our feedback from the industry, from participants. I mean, some of the feature sets we've added to this new app is they're just remarkable, and one of them is what we call DIDCOM. And so, what is it? If you've ever used WhatsApp, if you've ever used Signal, everything is encrypted communication.
Yep.
But that's all predicated on your phone. What if in the future it was predicated on your digital identity? That only you could use this product no matter what device you used it from, because it was locked to your digital identity. And only that communication was surely yours because it's validated by your biometric identity. So this is the next level of things that are going on in the next opportunity sets that are going to be down the road, future proofing our company.
Where's the money, David, in terms of, shareholders are watching this? Okay. I'm sure they love the leadership position. They've seen the validation through OCSA and some other things. With this new app, what are the revenue possibilities? And aside from the basic licensing and per user, I'm sure that's part of it. But where does that all come in?
Well, George, we think that digital identity, because it is self-sovereign identity, is owned by the individual. So we have to give that away for free. There's no choice. A user owns it. They need to have it. It's a free product to a consumer. So then you've got to say to yourself, well, if you've got that product, how do you do that? So we have right now over 600 vendors in North America that would like to reach on a permission basis those that are using our app. We also have other revenue, secondary and tertiary revenue opportunities, like our Liquid card by MasterCard in the US, and other opportunities which create joint revenue programs between our digital identity and vendors. Again, think of this in a very simple way. Vendors online or offline want more engagement from their consumers. Online advertising rules have changed because of privacy. There's a lot of different things that are changing in the industry. By empowering an individual to manage and control their identity, they're now in charge of their data. Vendors want to partner with you to support you and maybe get engaged with that data. They will give you a value proposition to do so. And we sit in the middle of that value proposition. We are the agent in the middle of that. So when both parties connect, we get part of that fee.
And that's a real seismic shift, because Google's already announced that they like that middle ground is going to be up for grabs, because Google's announced that they're no longer going to would it be 2023 where they're no longer going to be serving ads and tracking by people's private information and all that. So it's almost like it's a brand new race,
It
right?
is.
How
It
would you
is.
describe your leadership position there, Dave, right now? How does the industry look at Liquid Avatar? How's government look at Liquid? And what's the competition like? I got to ask that, because we'd be remiss. It's not like you're the only game in town, but
No.
how do you stack up?
So first of all, we're getting great response from industry and brands, and we have a number of programs that we'll be disclosing in the coming months that will show that connection between major organization brands and digital identity and our metaverse and other products. We think our company offers a trifecta here. We focus on digital identity, avatars and NFTs, and the metaverse, and that sort of trifecta for us brings everything together. That makes us unique and differentiates us from some of our competition. In the competitive arena, we are one of the few organizations that service all three parts of the transaction process when it comes to digital identity. So digital identity is divided into three different buckets. The first bucket is the holder. You or I who hold our digital credentials, we own those. The second bucket is, how do you verify a digital credential? So that is usually a processor or third party that wants to verify that credential. And we have business models with Passme that deals with that. We've already developed products and services to deal with the verification. And the third part is the issuance of credentials. So we also have a service for the issuance of credentials, and both outside of the holding, the verification and the issuance are commercial models. The other thing too is we meet the guidelines and standards for interoperability, and we keep attending what's called interopathons, which shows how we can integrate with other partners, competitors, cooperators, and by and large, we're successful.
And that's critical, right? Because you may have a partner. Let's say Agoracom had 5 million investors a month coming to site. I want you to integrate into my ecosystem rather than say, okay, David, everyone's got to be forced to get Liquid Avatar, then come back. You guys are on the cusp of that, right? Of being able to.
Yeah, and the way we look at that, George, is you and I are a bit older, not that old, but a bit older. And if you remember, when ATMs first came out, there were multiple networks. They didn't talk to each other. When processors first came out, there were multiple networks. They didn't talk to each other. Now everybody talks to each other because that interoperability grows the entire network. It's the network effect. We're already there. We've already participated in the network effect. So we're at that leading edge. So now what we're working to do, now that we have a product that's gone through its pilot phase and now is commercially available, we are now our goal is to backfill it with business and revenue. And again, to those that watch our company, when you look at our metaverse activities, yes, we've had to defer the revenue until such time as our metaverse launches, which we're expecting, to start doing this year, this fiscal year. And our betas are starting to come out now for our play to earn game. But we will be able to take all that deferred revenue and move it over to revenue, and that's almost $2 million. So we are generating revenue now. I will say sales now. Some of it is deferred, but when we're at a point where we've turned everything on, that revenue will now flip and go from deferred revenue to actual recorded revenue.
And you've got that cash. You've got that cash.
You get the cash.
To be clear for everyone at home, for accounting purposes, if I bought virtual land on Aftermath Islands in December, David, the company really can't recognize most of that until Aftermath Islands is actually delivered. So then we're going to wake up one morning and see a quarterly financial that says X dollars. It's just going to be a major shoot.
Boom, it's there.
And speaking of metaverse, a lot of people might know this. A lot of people who are shareholders do. As a result of your digital ID foundation, because that was the foundation of Liquid Avatar, digital ID, you have grown very robust NFT operations, and very robust metaverse operations. How does this upgrade, how does this update impact the metaverse side of things?
Brilliantly, because this new updated technology, and it really is a lot of new technology, this updated technology allows us to now integrate with the metaverse. So one of the things we're doing right now is there are two major platforms for game management that we've seen. One is run by Microsoft and one is run by AWS. And we're looking to integrate with both of those so that you'll be able to sign in to our metaverse and potentially other metaverses and other games with just your face. You don't have to give them any information on who you are. You can just sign in with your face. And
no, keep going. No, keep going.
no, so we're already showcasing that technology. So, and that starts with digital identity. So, George, there are three types of digital identity. One is there's no digital identity, no identity. I come in as a guest and I'm a freewheeler. I can do whatever I want. That invites bad actors. Then there is what we call anonymous verification. Anonymous verification is you know what? I've proven who I am through digital biometrics and verifying an email or phone number. So I know that I'm a real person, one user, one account. And then there is full-blown identity that includes what we call KYC and AML, full verification, driver's license and or passport, and all that verification. But we're going to be able to replace how many usernames and passwords do we have to remember? Why? The future is I just sign in with my face, I sign in with my biometrics, and it really isn't I'm signing in with my face. I'm passing a credential back and forth to the website to say, I am who I say I am. I can prove it. I've just met the challenge. Instead of a PIN, I've used my face and I can sign in. You'll let me in.
And it's not just the convenience, by the way. I mean, the convenience factor is great, but my motivation for going to that is as a result of now taking control of my digital ID. I'm going to have monetization opportunities. I'm going to have many way better engagement monetization opportunities, right?
Absolutely, because I'm in control. I don't. How many times have you watched a show that you say fits a certain demographic, and then you see all these ads that are weird? They just don't fit the model, right? Okay.
I don't want to see any more toe fungus commercials on TV while I'm watching something.
Exactly a cooking show,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
exactly. And the reason that happens is because inventory might have been bought as remnants across a whole swath of opportunities. But now we have the opportunity, sort of like Minority Report, to say, I only want to see this. And when I go here, that's all I see. And it's not that it's showing up because I just searched something. It's showing up because that's what I'm interested in, or that's what I want to be interested in.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the market for a new car between now and the end of the year, right? Because my car, I won't talk about the car, but it's going to be coming up. So I might, if I've got Liquid Avatar and the ecosystem is vibing and working, I might add in, hey, I'm in the market for this quality.
I'll take you one step further, George. We might be able to take a car in the metaverse that is a rocket powered car. It's got nothing to do with real cars, but it's from a particular brand. It's a whimsical car that you can ride in. But if you take a ride in that car and you give permission to do so, your avatar, because your avatar is connected to your digital identity, your avatar does the test drive. You have a blast doing it. And I'll take it simpler. Some of the NASCARs are named for some of the real cars. You get in a pseudo NASCAR and you drive around a track. And because your avatar is connected to your digital identity, by providing permission, your digital identity, which is connected to Liquid Avatar, receives a notice saying, George, you've test drove that car on the track, on the whimsical track. Come on into the dealership and we'll give you $200 off, or we'll give you this gift for doing a test drive in the real world. We can connect those points because your avatar is sort of your intermediary, or it's your buffer between your virtual engagement and your real world engagement. It is that buffer.
And for people at home, because David said the story, so I'm going to say it really quickly. For people at home, especially older people, older investors, who say, that sounds like nonsense. It's never going to happen. Just remember David's first experience when he was told 22 years ago, no one's going to shop online. No one's going to shop with a credit card. And e-commerce obviously is a foregone conclusion. This is just the next evolution, right? Instead of just scrolling a page and look at different cars or different tennis shoes and different colors, now I'm going to be able to immerse myself. And digital ID is so vital to that, because the brand has to know who's immersing themselves in this test driving this whimsical car or trying on these red tennis shoes,
Right.
or whatever the case may be. So you guys at the forefront of all that. So I want to end off with this, David.
I
Tell
want to
us.
add something to that.
Oh yeah, go. Of course. No, if you
Please,
got
if I
something to add,
could,
sure.
because this is really important. What we've seen in the metaverse to date is low resolution, boxy, whimsical cartoon graphics.
Yeah.
Whether that's what we've seen. If people go to our YouTube channel, and we'll maybe in the near future we can show this, our graphics for our metaverse are what you would see in major online games or console-based games. They are high resolution, real world looking graphics. We are not going to low res graphics. We're going to an experience that you would expect from a metaverse. It is high resolution graphics. And George,
Ready Player at some point, Ready Player One.
Exactly. But here's the better part. You don't have to download anything, and you could play it on your laptop, your tablet, or your mobile phone with the same level of graphics, as long as you have a strong internet connection, without any download of anything.
Mark, I want to leave off with this last point. Markets aside, because guys got to remember, Netflix is down over 70%, Facebook's down over 50%. So unless you think Netflix is a terrible service and Facebook is no longer viable, I think the proof that that's the case where we're making where stock price does not necessarily reflect how the business is doing. So stock price aside, how good do you feel about Liquid Avatar's positioning right now in digital ID, in Metaverse and NFT, the whole ecosystem? How strong and confident do you feel right now?
Well, George, I can't say that the markets don't affect us and the economy doesn't affect us, because we're real people. So we feel for not only ourselves but our stakeholders as well. I mean, it's a hard slug out there. But in the midst of all of this, we've launched this updated product, which is amazing. I think our stakeholders will see us continue to progress in the short period and long term to come. I am more committed today personally than ever before that we're building something amazing. We're seeing this not only in our digital identity product, which is leading the way, but in our avatar creation studio, which has some really cool products that are coming to market, and our metaverse application with Aftermath Islands. And what we're seeing from feedback from brands and other associations, which we'll let everybody know about in the near future. So I'm really, really bullish on what we're doing, markets aside.
Yeah, and the market always catches up. Let's all remember that when the .coms crashed back in 2000, Amazon went down to $2 a share, right? So again, we're not trying to say the Liquid Avatar is Amazon or you're going to get the same potential return, but that's a classic example of stock prices not reflect operations. And as long as the operations go as well, I've been in this industry for 25 years. You have to have a real operation. You have to, George Bucks, if it thrived last year because the tide lifts all the boats, it's dying this year. But the companies like Liquid Avatar are, really just getting stronger in this environment. So David, congrats on another great milestone. We know, it's not like we announced a sale or a partnership today, but it's a major update to your leadership position, which is so critical. And just listen to you talk about it makes it super exciting. And I can't wait to the next update, my friend.
Thank you, George. Really appreciate it. Best to everyone out there as well.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to David Lukacs. He's CEO of Liquid Avatar Technologies, trades in Canada under LQID for our friends in the US, LQAVF. For those new to the story, the way to start your due diligence, if you're bullish on the future of digital ID, Web3, Metaverse, and NFTs, then you got to get to the company's profile page in Agoracom, because there's a lot going on. The great thing about cutting edge technologies is it's exciting. The downside is you need to learn about it. You're going to learn about it there. And then from there, go over to the Liquid Avatar website to do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have an amazing day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.